The relationship between Alphabittle and Misty is one of my favorite plot points in Chapter 5, and one of my favorite things in G5 overall. The father and daughter relationship is incredibly wholesome and incredibly real, and everything that led up to it worked so well. From Misty being introduced alone as an orphan to every hint Alphabittle gave us over time. The first hint we got on their connection was in Chapter 4, the masquerade ball. Just a short one, but we see Alphabittle glancing at Misty, seemingly recognizing her. Ever since then, the theories are running wild and predicting that Alfie has a connection to Misty. Being her father was one of the common ones. But that's when the good stuff starts, in Chapter 5. We simultaneously walk through both of the stories, slowly discovering more and more about them, while the relationship is being hinted at. I'm gonna go into Misty first, because there's way more to unpack there. Mostly because every memory from her time with her dad is suppressed. I mentioned a lot of this in my video on the entire chapter, so it's time to get deeper into it. This suppressed memory is a sign of her traumatic past experience, and who can blame her? Her oldest experience is losing her father, not to mention a non-existent mother, followed by ending up with a wannabe mother who used and abused her to feel better about herself. In response to these traumatic experiences, she buried her memories deep down as a self-preservation instinct, not remembering her good old times, as to not make herself feel even worse in comparison in the current situation. However, what was the current situation with Opaline? Everything before then was clouded in mist. Her new cutie mark seems to have been a trigger to unlock said memory. Either that, or her visit to her childhood home of Bridlewood. Probably both. In that defog process, we slowly get more and more hints on Alphabittle's connection to Misty, hearing his younger voice and seeing his silhouette, until she realized who it really was. But before we get to the reunion, let's analyze Alfie's way to it, because it's more important for him than you might realize. Because we get hints on him having inner trauma throughout the first 3 episodes. Specifically with Queen Haven, because it's coming up in their progressing relationship. Relationships are built on trust, and Alphabittle trusts his girlfriend so much that he tells her about his darkest secret, showing how much their love has developed already. But more importantly, it shows why he has such a tendency to stay in Bridlewood at most times. And to me, it shows where his relationship with Izzy gave off such a fatherly vibe. I mean, Izzy even calls him dad later. I know it was an accident, but I still got the vibe. Alfie was just about to reveal his tragic backstory to Haven when we finally get to the best part. The reunion. Don't lie, we all cried when they met. After all they did to set it up. So this video is just getting started. We're finally at the dynamic between father and daughter that made especially episode 4 so memorable to me. They had just reunited and Alphabittle's enthusiasm is commendable. He wants to spend as much time with her as possible, but as you'd expect, this enthusiasm is misguided. He wants to be a good dad, but he is focusing too much on the image he has of Misty, the image she got in her childhood, and her likes and dislikes back then. But who can blame him? The experience was traumatic for him too. He lost his daughter. It was basically stopping time for him. I can't imagine how hard it must have been to lose all this time. It's only natural that he would want to go back to how it's been before. But that's not how it works. He might still be the same, but Misty has grown up, and he can only realize that with Misty being direct towards him. Because he might not have changed, but she has. At the same time, Misty wants to spend as much time with him as possible. That combined with a people-pleaser personality she got from serving Opaline all these years, makes her go along with everything Alphabittle wants, to give him the best time of his life, even if it's at the cost of her own comfort. Or at least that's how it was, but not anymore. Throughout this chapter we see Misty learn what friendships and relationships should be, and how to establish boundaries. She did that in episode 1, and now again with Alfie. It's one of the most important things in a relationship. You have your boundaries and they have theirs, and you have to respect that. In this case, she wasn't clear with her boundaries, which is why she was pushed over the edge at the poetry slam. But that was exactly what she needed. It pushed her to tell her father how she really felt, opening up and strengthening their bond. This heart-to-heart talk is the first actual moment where they built their relationship. They spent an entire day together, but that moment in her childhood room is their first actual meeting. The first time Alphabittle sees the real Misty. And he does the best thing he can do. He accepts it. It's hard for him to see that she has grown up without him, but he is doing his best to accept it now that he knows how she really feels. He acts like a proper father should, and wants to get to know the real Misty, and love the real Misty. He wants to show that he cares about her regardless of who she is now. This sentiment brings Misty out of her shell once more, because she wants to do the same. That's gonna be a very healthy relationship between Dadabittle and T, that many IRL parents could learn from. It's a story about loss, regain, and accepting what has changed. Misty and her narrative of change is the strongest in the entirety of G5. It's gonna be amazing to follow along this relationship in the future, especially keeping in mind that Alphabittle and Queen Haven are dating. And if they marry at some point, Misty, Zip and Pip will become sisters. The connection of Alphabittle and Misty opened the door to many interesting plotlines and character dynamics, while showing us an amazing father character. It's set up in a great way. I just wish we didn't get spoiled by a trailer a month before release of the chapter. MLP's objective, besides selling toys, was always to teach lessons, and this time, it's one for the parents. And that's what I love about MLP. It gives something for every age and societal group. But what do you think? Is their relationship well worked out? What do you want to see from them in the future? Let me know. Join my Discord if you want to discuss some more. Thanks to my patrons, especially to Maverick, and until next time for the Bonnie Spoony fellas, and bye.